That was the comfy chair I was looking at, the tall, dark and goofy sat down in it.
Yeah.
Tall, dark and goofy. Yeah, I'm not going to sit in that chair. It's a little low.
I heard you had a ring. I heard you so. Makes sense.
Okay, no problem. It's frozen on my screen.
All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We bring you now to this match between Fach Garcia and Ben Uymul. This is Daniel Bush with POVPOOL. We're sponsored by Mezz, Q's, West State Billiards, Marty Carey's Jump Q, and Virtual Pool 4. Also, special thanks to Fast and Loose Designs and Go Play Pool. Looks like it's going to be an even race to 8 between these guys, if I'm not mistaken. Ben Uymul, local player from San Diego, but rather than hear me tell you guys, I'm going to have the great Dan Wallace and his good friend and very talented billiards media photographer, Ashi Fachler. They're going to sweat this match for as long as they possibly can. And
or at least until Dan goes to play his next match.
Yes, exactly. And at that point, I'll probably come and join Ashi myself. So take it away, guys, and thanks, guys, so much.
You're welcome, Dan.
Thank you very much, Daniel. And, I'd like to thank Mezz Q's for putting on these incredible events on the West Coast. An area of the country that's been hurting for a long time to have some really great events. And we're all hoping that this is going to wind up in a positive light and turn into something bigger. That would be fantastic.
We'd love more action here, sort of in the lower left side of the California state. LA gets a lot of action a lot of times, but San Diego seems to be forgotten on the roadmap of road players. Ben is a local player out of OnQ, the place where we're having the tournament held this year. And he's a Filipino player, so you can be sure that his table knowledge is pretty good. Although this table has now humiliated some of the best players with its real tight pockets. 4 inches, 4 point something?
I think they're like 4.2 or something like that. And Ben is also internationally a noted martial artist.
I didn't know that.
He's always had a beautiful touch with the cue. Very soft swing on the ball.
Very soft swing. Even if you're sitting real close, you can't hear his contact.
I love that Mizrak, in his seminal book, he categorized players into speed players and tip players. And his definition of that was that tip players use spin to propel the cue ball, and speed players play for flatter angles and use speed of strike on the ball to move the cue ball around the table. And Ben, unquestionably, has always been a tip player.
I have seen more speed players in Europe. It's something to do with the snooker stance, I think, that benefits them. Yeah. So I've seen it more in Europe than in the U.S.
Yeah, they naturally hit a slightly flatter ball, so they tend to play with speed as opposed to tip. That makes sense.
That's right. Ben just made the 5-ball in the side, but again, he simply couldn't get the speed he needed to go around the table.
Yeah, it's just the iPad. Are they saying it's stuck in the chat room? Oh,
We're trying to resolve refreshing the stream so that you guys can get the fastest possible rate. This looks a little bit better than before, right, Dan?
It does.
their end. There's a lag. That don't really. That's a delayed lag. And that's just. I'll take this.
Looks like Foch has a nice angle on the 7 here. Oh, and he held that nicely with inside spin. That's a good way to hold that ball. And a perfect angle on the 8.
Like the church. They like the church so much.
Fach is on the scoreboard right now with his first win. Notice the modified rack that they use, and this is one of those tournaments where the 1 ball is racked on the spot.
It's the turtle rack they're using, isn't it?
The turtle rack, yes.
Yeah. Which works very well, actually.
I know you broke with it in your match and
Yeah.
it seemed to work fine.
Yes, it sets everything up very nicely. Fach has been a long-time player in the Los Angeles pool scene. And I love seeing him. That he's still playing. It's great. He's been playing non-stop for years and years and years, and it's just fantastic. He just loves the game.
You broke a little softer than usual just to try and control the cue ball in the center of the table. But no reward. He has no
Fairly good
angle.
spread, but yeah, nothing good on the 1.
Yep.
Everyone should have played a match by now. If you did not play a match, please come see me.
I try to. Actually, I don't go for the bank here. I try to float the cue ball behind the 2.
And that's
Which is what he's doing.
That's exactly what he did.
And look at this.
Oh, perfect.
What touch.
Ray Evans, Ray Evans.
And now he's going to try and move the rack.
Oh, it's
and
a beautiful
go.
shot.
Ray Evans, table
Ben is looking to either make it in the side. He's looking at that angle, but he's thinking off that 4 might benefit him or even make that 4 up in the top corner, depending on the speed in which he hits it.
No, it's unfortunate.
table number 1. I need
By
Rich
quite
Daniel,
a
Dan
margin.
Boone, Rich Daniel, Dan Boone, table number 1. Even race 7. Come get your rack.
The 4 seems close enough. And that's what he did. He's allowing himself to use that bottom rail in order to float into the middle of the table. Nice speed. Follow forward.
Posh naturally is a speed player, so he wants to hold the ball and punch the other pockets.
And that is the Filipino players brought to the U.S. is that natural movement of the ball, tip through the ball, let the cue ball do what it wants to do rather than hold it. Until then, I think most U.S. players were the speed players of a certain degree. And we saw that, of course, with Perica and Reyes. That puts Fach at 2, I think, of a Ben. 2-0.
Testing. All right.
So you were saying, Dan?
Perica and Reyes being sort of the harbingers of the modern game, which is interesting because their style of play, a tip style of play, a soft touch style of play, dominated the game for a good 15 years, maybe even 20. And now the European style of play has sort of taken over, and they've moved back the opposite direction. They're starting to play more of a speed game where they hit the balls firmer and pocket them a little more solid instead of letting them float.
And the Europeans sure have advanced in the world pool scene in the last 15
definitely.
years.
Yeah.
Changed the map to a certain degree. Some players are just dominating, European players dominating
Yes.
the pool scene. Ben lost the cue ball in the side pocket, so control passes to Fach.
Balls came apart well, so we'll see what Fach has to deal with.
Fach is looking at the transition from the 2 to the 3. He wants to make sure to leave himself the angle to get down to that 4 ball.
It's actually a fairly complicated rack. There are actually a couple of spots in this rack where you have to be very careful about the angles you get. The 2 is open into the top corner past the 8, so as long as he gets a good position on the 2, he can get to that 3.
Someone in the chat asked when the pros play. The answer is they're playing all day. They're dispersed on different tables, but they're playing all day long on different tables. The first match that we had was Oscar Dominguez versus Attila, and those both of them are pro
Oscar
players.
Dominguez, he's a Mosconi Cup veteran.
He is, and this year too. I think he's
And this
going
year
to
too?
play this year too.
Oh,
Yes.
marvelous.
Oh no,
No?
sorry. He was one of the coaches. I'm sorry. Not even that. No. Oh, okay.
Did he decline to run this tour?
He is, after all, running the Mezz tour.
He is.
here
He's doing
in
a
San
wonderful job of it, in fact.
Diego. In the meantime, Fach.
Ben has a deep ball
Missed.
there. He's just got to roll it out of the corner. Yeah.
Nice touch. Very nice touch.
That's beautiful touch.
Didn't overhit it.
And we just stun this ball dead. Yeah.
He did.
And he should
And
be able to
then
work
the
right
rails.
around the top of the 5. In fact, I would shoot this to try to come 2 rails out of the corner and bump the 9.
He'll
You try to
probably
come in
play
between the
soft.
5-9.
He'll play soft and one rail it.
That's his nature.
Yes, because
He just
he
touches
plays
the ball.
stuff that he just touches it real soft.
Yeah, he really does play a lovely game.
Yes. I've seen him practice here at OnQ quite a few times. It's one of the places we likes being at.
Ooh.
But both
Ooh,
Fach
he kind
and
of dug
Ben,
at that one a little bit.
both of them are running into the same issue. When they hit it soft, they're fine, and the moment that they load up that cue to try and get around, this table tends to humiliate you if you don't hit it straight into the pocket.
Well, Foch has a chance at a good out here. Ooh.
Oh, he just missed that 7, but that caused him to also miss the pocket. Ben is happy to have a chance back at the table.
Well, he's got a... Ideally, he hits a drag stroke here and kills the cue ball right near the side pocket and just accepts the cut on the 6.
That's probably what he's going to do. He'll take that. No, he tried too hard. That's the biggest problem. Again and again and again we see that when somebody is trying too hard.
Yeah, that's very
take
true.
the longer, tougher shot, but the softer one, they load up the cue, swing wildly, and miss wildly.
I think Foch has a nice kick here. I think he can kick to the backside of the 5 and kill the cue ball.
And leave
behind
it right
the group
there.
of balls and maybe send the 5 down to the bottom end of the table.
And that's what he was trying to do, but he hit it at an angle, and he's shaking his head because the cue ball leaked out.
Yeah.
Ben has a smile on his face.
He's
as
grinning
he,
now,
yes, he knows that he got another chance at this.
They're both feeling a little bit silly in this rack, and that neither one of them has run out yet, which they usually would.
They would. There's something about the table being under the cameras, having everybody sit around you.
Yeah.
That causes people to do things that they may not do in other tournaments or on other tables. He left himself an angle. He was very scared that he's going to hide
just a little
behind
high
the
on that,
8.
so
Yes.
he'll try to just nip draw this back an inch or two to shoot the 8 in the top corner.
Oh, he was straighter than we could see
he was
here.
straight in. And he's playing out to the...
Now
All
he's
right.
gonna two-rail it out behind the 9, swing around the 9.
No,
for
one
two
rail,
rails.
I think. He's probably going to hold it up.
No, 2 rails. Oh, just one
Yeah.
rail. You know, there are only 2 rules to pull. Only 2. Rule number 1, don't get on the rail. Rule number 2, don't get on the rail. Every time you do, there's a chance that you don't control the ball better. Well, Ben just got on the board at this point, and just to remind you, this is an alternating rack, meaning the winner doesn't rack, so Ben has a chance, because he's breaking now, to even out the score. I'd like to remind you that we are sponsored by Mezz Cues. This is the Mezz Tour, Automated Entertainment, and Virtual Pool 4. These are some of the fine sponsors of this match. Also, the West State
So Foch is-
Billiards. Fach is breaking in the 4th rack right now. And while he left himself a shot on that 1, holding the cue ball without running into the 4 will be key here. So he might just
I actually like playing the safety here. You float the cue ball into the 4. He went for it. He went for it.
He
Okay.
went for 2-way and might have rewarded himself. Ben can see half of that 1 ball.
Can he?
And
I don't
yes,
quite have an angle on that,
yes. From here, he can nip it and maybe hold the cue ball behind the 6.
I don't think he
Is
can make
my
that
guess.
ball.
So
I think
behind the
he's
2 if he hits low enough. But he can see it.
Oh,
He
that's a
went-
good shot.
That was a very
That's a
good
very
shot.
nice
Running
shot.
into the 2. However,
Spinning that ball down and still controlling the 2 ball and the cue ball is pretty impressive.
Ben is
He just floats
looking,
this
yes.
around the 6-9. Tries to get straight in on the 3 or pretty close to it.
He overhit it just by a hair. The speed on this table, again, is proving to be a challenge.
And if instead
people.
you use heavy side spin on that and try to go around the 6-9, it helps to control that speed. But it's just an unexpected shot, you know.
No.
The players having a little bit of trouble dealing with it. So.
Yes, it seems like pretty much everybody who gets on this table is having challenges with the table speed.
Yeah, and here I like sucking the cue ball back behind the 5 and 2-railing the 3 behind the 9-6. Boom, boom.
And a little bit harder. That's what he was going for, yes. Although he left a challenging shot for Fach at this point on the rail, almost coast to coast. Yes, it looks like he's frozen on the rail and almost coast to coast. Fach played this two-way, yes. If he makes it, he's got the 4. If he doesn't, he left Ben kissing that 5 ball.
That's a nice decision he made. You have to, anytime you look at a shot that difficult, you have to say to yourself, which way is the way I have to miss this if I miss it? Obviously, you're focused on making the ball, but if I have to err in one direction or the other, which way am I going to err? And he did that exactly correct. It was fantastic.
Ben is looking for the kick in between the 6-9, which leaves him quite a short gap. I don't know why he doesn't choose the 3-railer coming down behind the 3, but he's looking at threading the needle right between the 6 and 9 ball.
Oh, that's a tough shot.
It's a tough stroke. Yeah, see, that was the danger.
I like a Z shot there. I like going side to side, yeah.
Yes, I thought so too. A Z shot or a 3-railer coming underneath the 3 and kicking it up. Although the problem with that is the cue ball is going towards the pocket when you do so.
Now, I suppose some players are going to play that 4 ball in the side pocket. I like playing it in the top corner.
And stopping the cue ball right there.
He's going for the side pocket, it looks like, yeah.
It's a matter
as long as you get a good angle there.
preference.
Yeah, as long as you get a good angle there. You're traveling the cue ball further, though, and that's something that is generally to be avoided.
All he wants to do is avoid the 8 ball. By avoiding the 8 ball, he gives himself the shot.
And then on the second shot, though, he has to run that around.
You favor the 6 into the same pocket the 5 went into? No.
At this point, I favor exactly what he's doing.
You have to say that before he shoots. Otherwise, it doesn't count.
No, darn it.
Stop the cue ball right there. Draw it back a little bit. Make the 9 in the top right pocket.
That's beautiful.
Beautifully struck. Perfect. That puts
that's a good out there. That's a clean out.
again in the lead, 3-1 over Ben. The alternating break format, of course, is means that Ben gets to rack and Fach will be breaking in this 5th rack.
Dan, do you want anything to drink? You good? You want anything to drink? Diet Coke? No. Sure.
Well, the alternate break format is actually sort of fascinating. It's something that the game has not explored entirely yet to really understand the ins and outs of it. I played in an era where winner broke and you had a chance to string a lot of racks. I suppose the two sides of the argument are stringing racks is exciting, but alternate break gives both players more of a shot and actually creates tighter matches.
And that is sort of, as both a fan, a viewer, a player, I sort of like when people string 6, 8 racks and you sit there in awe of their skill. Plus, I actually think there's some benefit to sitting in the quote-unquote electric chair while somebody is running racks.
Oh, that's very true.
You get to see the human drama of it. Ben Broke is looking at the one ball. He's trying to measure what it would take to separate the cue ball and the one ball.
He has a sticky rack here. I mean, you have to play the safety, right?
I think so. Underneath this, park the one underneath the 6 and go up as far as you can. Instead, Ben goes for a wild shot and leaves the 1 right on.
One goes in the side pocket.
But these
and the 3
pockets
ball
are
is a
tight.
freebie if he just rolls it in softly.
And that's what he'll probably attempt to do. He's looking at putting it either in the top pocket or the side. He just came short on that shot.
It's tough. I think I use follow here and I run it out over the 6, 2 rails out into the middle of the table for the 4.
And that's what he.
This is actually a shot that requires just a touch of punch, and Fach has this shot.
And
He hits this
spin.
ball well. Oh, look at this! He went to the side pocket.
Yes.
Oh, I like that. So you can hit firmer.
Right.
That's a pretty good shot.
He added a tiny bit of inside English before he struck the ball
Yeah.
to stop it and then roll it around to that side pocket, which he prefers. Gives him more options of where he wants to end up on that 5.
Oh, we had such a good outgoing there.
He was, I think he took the 4 for granted, took his eyes off it, looked at the 5
So that last shot was so good that
to get
you're
onto
right.
the 4.
A little bit
yeah.
of nonchalance there.
Right. Speed, a moment of not paying attention. Oh, my.
Oh, Ben's
Ben
not happy about
poked
that.
at it. No, he's surrounded by friends on the side table here, and he's murmuring to himself,
Yeah.
shaking his head. And Fach misses too. Ben can't believe his good fortune to get back at what seemed to be a table that was given to Fach as a gift.
Yeah, he's got a free shot here. Bank the 5. Yeah,
And once
you get to
again-
leave your opponent long with a weird angle. It's always nice to have a free shot, isn't it?
Of course. I mean, Fach would rather have a shot, even if it's off angle and long, than
True enough.
not being at the table
True.
or facing a safety. Of course, the transition from the 5 to the 6 will dictate how this table is run. Fach is looking to put a little bit of punch on that 5 ball in order to get the cue ball down to the 6. But
I love something Roger Griffiths used to say to me. He used to say, "Are you shooting? Then shut up and be happy."
right?
At least the opportunity is yours.
Because it doesn't matter what shape you got. If you didn't make the ball, you're not at the table. Somebody else is shooting for you. Ben
Ben's trying
again is looking to punch it and
to,
come
he's trying
back.
to draw it back, I think.
Yes, a little bit at least off the rail.
Yeah.
Well,
He hits
how
that kind
well?
of, his
How
soft
well?
stroke, his soft stroke, the way he touches balls, that's exactly the kind of shot he loves to have.
How well did
He
he,
can really touch
strike
that nicely.
that? But he wasn't rewarded by being almost straight in and on the rail. He's looking at the 7 into the side pocket at this moment to see if he can float up above the 8.
That's tough. That's tough.
It's
He's got a
tough,
soft
yes.
angle on that 6. It'd be lovely to get above the 7.
He'd love to stop it, but he's
And of course,
he's frozen.
If
on
he's just
that
a couple
rail.
of inches off the rail, he simply runs around with inside spin, comes out of the corner, no problem. But where he's sitting, that's troublesome.
tried
and
to
he tried
cheat
to
that
force
pocket
that to get
in,
above the
and-
7 and shoot it.
Right,
Yeah.
and instead,
I think you were right, Ashi. I think he should have just floated that in and taken that tough side pocket shot.
left side.
Why push the
However,
odds there?
From my angle, I can't tell if Fach can cut that 6 in enough. He might play a one-pocket shot, leaving the cue ball more or less where the 6 is now after bouncing off that side rail.
I don't think you can see that much of it.
No, he didn't.
Oh,
he
he's
tried
trying
to
to
do
float
that
across it.
and
Yeah.
double kissed, but the balls are now frozen together.
Well, this is cute.
Yeah, Ben is shaking his head and raising his arms in frustration.
Yeah, Ben's just going to float it to the top of the table.
That's what he's doing, trying to marry it up there to the rail, and that's what he did.
Oh. Not quite what he was after, but it was still a pretty cute shot. That's
Yeah,
not bad. I mean, it gives Ben
he,
the chance to bank it in. And
Ben seems to be
happens.
playing kind of fast. He goes down and to shoot really fast for some reason. I think he's just being impatient, and he's paying by missing shots.
Does seem
he
that way a
should
little
have-
bit, doesn't it?
Although he just got lucky by cross-banking that 6, but that's not what he meant to do. He's now looking to see if he can do the one rail or maybe 2 rails up to shoot the 8. You
I think he's
he'll
going
draw?
to he's going to keep it below the 8. He's just going to stun that 7 up there and take the long shot on the 8.
You play as well? Lessons, right?
I actually have to go for a second,
Okay,
so I'm
go
gonna
ahead.
I'm gonna grab
Just-
Coach here and put him back in the
All
seat.
right, put
So-
Coach back in the seat.
all right.
Joining me in the commentators booth is Coach. Hi, Coach. How
Hey,
are you, sir?
How we doing? How's this match
Well,
looking up?
Fach is up 4-1, and Ben just missed the 7 and left him this shot where he has to come 2 rails behind that 7 or try and hide the cue ball right where it is right now. I think he's going for 2 rails, hit that 7, and separate the 2. Unfortunately, he left Ben with a straight-in shot on that 7.
Yeah, it was a very good attempt. It left him a little bit easy for his opponent here. Getting that 7 and cue ball back for the 8s is going to be the big problem here. Let's see what he can do.
Ben is trying to maximize the angle that he has on that 7 in order to get underneath the 8.
Perfect draw shot there. Gives him an angle on that 8 so he can come back easily on the 9. And let's see what he does here.
Ben is looking to cut this, come 2 rails into the center of the table and hit the 9. Perfect speed.
Awesome shot.
All Fach can do is sit there and hope. That puts Ben at 2. That is now his break.
And keep those comments coming there. Everybody's watching this. We enjoy reading them and try to get you the answers. I wonder if this match is going to turn into the great match we had last time where it went from a 5-2 race to a hill race down to the 9 ball to determine the winner. Very exciting. Hoping we have the same kind of excitement.
Fach is breaking on the 7th rack.
That's okay. Hi, Coach. Welcome back. Don't worry about it.
Notice that Fach broke from the box in the center of the table. Quick shout out to people in Thailand on this stream. We know that you're watching. Welcome. Welcome to sunny California and on Cue Billiards. Ben just kissed the cue ball to the 3 ball, leaving Fach with a very, very tough angle.
Awesome leave off of that. I'm not sure he was planning that exact safety, but it came out great if he wasn't. He does have that little leprechaun at this time on his shoulder helping him out.
One of the differences and one of the things that the Filipinos brought to the U.S. when they came to play here is that they not only kick safeties out, but they kicked to make them. They kicked to try and make the cue ball, not just hit it.
Great shot. Yeah, one thing I was telling one of my friends a while ago about this game of 9-ball, when you get good shooters out there, it's not the guy that break and runs all the 900 racks. What it really boils down to, it's cue ball control, especially in the safety category. So if they do not make the shot, their opponent has nothing. Those are the type of players you see out here that win the matches because they know how to use that cue ball correctly.
Speaking of cue ball control, Ben hid himself behind the 3, but managed to hit it perfect out, and then once again hid himself behind the 4. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Ben doesn't use jump cue. He'll draw the kick if he can. I might eat my words here in a second.
I think he is going for that jump cue over there.
Jump cue.
Kick would be more difficult to jump in this particular time. It is a much easier type of shot, even though it's not that much distance. Jumping and contacting is the key to this.
And the problem is, after you clear that 4, the cue ball will continue jumping and might hit that 9 along the way. The expert on jumping is sitting to my right. That's Coach, one of the artistic pool shot champions.
Now this shot here, for a person who knows how to shoot a good jump shot here, he does have plenty of clearance. The key is where what he does to the cue ball, whether it makes a 3 or not, and that's again cue ball control.
That I was looking at the tip. Yes, yes.
That makes it a little difficult on those kind of jump shots when you miss cue.
Daniel to my left is a little bit disappointed that Ben actually missed that jump shot, but I'm sure we'll have others.
He should have come down to our show last night and seen all the jumps he did.
In the meantime, Fach is coming just short of what he wanted to, but he leaves himself a good angle to get back on the 6. He's going to hit it low and float 1 rail back to the 6. He didn't want to run into the 9-ball. Obviously, he didn't read Siegel's book that says don't run into balls.
That's a true statement, because that's one of the things I've always addressed when I'm having students, is try to avoid almost at all costs any contact, because it changes the whole outlook of the game. But these guys have very good control of the cue ball, and they're able to
as Fach
compensate.
demonstrates right now, by making the ball and getting a perfect angle to come back for that 9 ball.
And it looks like watching both these players, their caliber skills is very high, and one mistake can cost them.
Absolutely. 5-2 to Fach at this point. 5-2, correct? 5-3.
Just win.
Again, since I'm back out there, any of you players that are, be sure and say hi, especially if we know each other, and if we do that and you're local, come on down and watch some great matches. There's all kinds of great shooters down there having a good time, so come on down and enjoy and spend a little money and have a good afternoon of fun.
Maybe buy a raffle ticket, the few cues that are being raffled off, and in any case you will help the sponsors and make sure that events like these, like this one, comes back to San Diego. We really need some good events like this one.
Oh, by the way, too, if you need any good photography work, the gentleman here to my left that's talking when I'm not is one of the top-notch shooters. He also did photo work for me for my cards, and my partner, Too Tall, as well. Does awesome work. So when you're down here, be sure you look him up.
Thank you, Coach. Ben got a good spread on the balls at this point, but the 1 ball is at an awkward angle. He's left with a choice of that thin cut to the bottom pocket and then running into the 3, or opting for the bank, which is very tough in these pockets, and then stopping the cue ball right where it is. Just as I said, running into the 3, moved the 3 onto the rail, which he didn't want to. So now he has to deal with a 3 right on that rail. In fact, it seems to be frozen to the rail from my angle.
Good avoidance, again, as we stated, is the key to this game, so you don't change any of the layout. I think he's trying for a safe. No, he went for the shot. Built-in safety.
This is Daniel Bush here with POVPOOL. I want to thank everybody for watching today. Just wanted to let you know the next match on the live stream table will be between Vilmos Foldis and Dan Wallace. From the winner's side, what a great match that should be. Thanks. And thanks to Ashi and Coach Barnard.
Coach only has one name, Coach. There's no first, last, or middle. It's Coach. Those who know him as Coach.
Yeah, that comes from a good friend of mine that knows me and has known me for many, many, many years.
Coach, I knew you when you still had hair.
That's been a long time ago.
In fact, I have the photos somewhere of a WPBA event probably 15, 16 years ago. You sitting in the front row with that awesome leather jacket and a head of hair on you.
I tell you, I dug up a picture sent to me one of my Pop Warner football players. This is basically where my nickname Coach came from. I started coaching football from the Pop Warner into high school and into semi-pro, but that's another story. Sent me a picture in 1982 of our team picture, and I had a full beard, curly, and a full afro with a baseball hat on. I actually had hair with an afro back in the day.
Ben is looking to see if the 5 clears the 9 into the top pocket. He didn't want to draw that much. He actually was trying to go to the side pocket, but now he has to deal with that 5 clearing that 9 into the top pocket. He might just cut it into the side because of that. Yeah, that was the problem right there. But hitting it at the right speed meant that when he missed, he buried that 5 behind the 9. Fach is looking at the 1 rail kick. into the 5, leaving the cue ball where the 5 is now virtually, and kicking the 5 out.
Awesome try.
Yeah, a little too much speed on that, which meant that he
What a lead.
leaked out.
Yeah, Ashi came out with a great result of that. Even though he didn't make it, he's left him a very hard shot coming up, potentially a scratch. Let's see if he tries to cut it, bank it, or just control that cue ball again.
There is no shot clock in this event. There's discussion of maybe implementing it later, but at this point, no shot clock. Although you can see that the pace of the match is relatively fast.
In answer to that question about a shot clock, at this stage there is no shot clock going.
Think tomorrow they're going to have one?
Possibility as they get towards the top players, depending on how things are going. And also, someone asked a question on here about that main door coming in and being distracting possibly to the shooters. At this time, I've heard no complaints about it, although it could possibly be distracting.
It might be, but you know, Ben just missed his shot because he jumped up, swung the cue around instead of staying down on that shot, which he should have.
Great shot. Yeah, an answer to that type of statement there too, Aussie. Rule of thumb, good shooters, when they finish the shot, they stay down and don't move until the ball drops in the pocket, which is generally about a 3 count afterwards. That continues to make sure they finish the shot correctly and don't misdirect it by jumping up too soon.
Fach didn't want to leave himself shooting over that 7, but again, he avoided that side pocket. Yes, he can cut it into the bottom pocket, but then he runs into the 9 again, so he might go for both shots. He's going to look at that right now, both making that 8 and shooting the 9 at the same time.
You got 2 ways of doing the shooting. Super soft, just hard enough to make the 8, and he'll still maintain good direction, or hitting a little hard to bank the 9 back this
he'll
way.
Probably shoot soft, knowing his speed.
Beautiful.
All that's left is the 9 ball. Fach knows the importance and will take his time on that one. And there you go.
Well, he won that game. Looks like now the score, Fach will now have 6 to Ben's 2 in a race to 7.
Race to 8, I think. No, well, it depends on who's playing. If the semi-pro, yeah. So I think in this case it's a race to 8.
Gotcha.
Both players, I think, are racing to 8.
My best out there.
Earlier on, when Amir played Rolando, it was a 9 to 7 race. Sorry, I'm corrected, 7-7 race. But
That's the match I was telling you that went down to from a 5-2 to a hill down to the 9 ball on the last game.
The number of racks that they have to play is determined by their skill level.
Pro, ABC, etc.
Yes, actually I think there's also an AA in this category, so ABC, AA being better. Ben is asking Fach about removing the rack. He's going to lift the ball and allow him to remove the rack. Fach broke dry, leaving Ben to shoot, but Ben can't see the 1 ball, so he's calling a push to try and leave a jump shot. And I think that Fach will be handing it back. He's taking a look.
I think here his opponent's going to look at that and say, "Here, you try it."
Yeah, that's
he did.
exactly what he's saying. He says, "Be my guest." And Ben is shaking his head at the leave that he left himself.
The right side spin off the rail will kick it. Might even cut it in. Perfect.
That's what Ben was going for. Separate them side to side, safety.
Is there any way that you can show what the original race would be? 7-7, 8-7, 9-7, or whatever on here? So we know what it starts out as. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Okay. I had to ask.
But they're going both race to 8, right?
See, this is
Aren't
what
they
it
both
is.
semi-pros?
But
So
it
they're both
started
race
out
to 8.
as 7-7, 8-7, whatever.
For eight, I need Al G and Dale. Al G and Dale.
Fetch is looking to cut the 5 and float up to the center of the table for that 6. Instead, he came under the 6. His speed control is simply not as good as it could be.
Yeah, that is a makeable shot, it looks like. You take that in the corner with a little
It
bit of
is,
draw to
but
come
again,
across for the 7.
He runs the risk of hitting that 9 ball. Depending on how close he is, he's running the risk, and that's what he's trying to see. How can he avoid that 9 ball, because he doesn't want to run into it. He wants to control. He took the shot into the side, a little bit of follow, one rail to make the 8 ball in the bottom corner pocket.
Little soft draw shot here. You can draw out just past the one side of the 9 and get it into the corner.
For those wondering about the equipment, by the way, they're playing on gold crowns with Simonis. Very, very tight pockets. I think they're round crown 3s, yes. They're around 4-inch pockets that was set up by the Dominguez duo, the father and son, and they are the ones who set up the tables. There's a possibility that at least some of the games. No, I'm looking at the cue ball right now. It's the red dot, Armith red dot ball, no measle ball in this tournament. Although I saw the Cyclop ball and the Cyclop cue ball and the ball set used earlier on, but that's, I think, only on some of them. The tight pockets on this table have caused some of the best players around to miss. Fetch is on the hill right now. Ben simply can't get his speed down up to this point.
It looks like Ben's right to the nitty gritty. He's going to have to get some quick focus in this game, or he's going to be watching the winner walk away.
Very nice break. The 1 and the cue ball are right there in the corner. Ben wants to draw back one rail to be able to see that 3 ball. But not get on the rail. That has seemed to have plagued Ben in this entire match, is getting very close to that rail, and by that limiting his ability to shoot. Right there is the reason for coming short on that shot, is the fact that he was on the rail, nothing more. Side pocket around the world. Flirting with that side pocket, and again,
Beautiful cue ball control on that. Beautiful.
yes, but he ended up straight in on that 5 and shooting over the 7. So he's going to.
Got a little angle.
It's got a little angle, yes. Do you favor the follow with 2 rails out to the 7, middle of the table here?
Nah, I think what he's going to try, since he has to go to rake, he's just going to do a little bit of a draw shot. Try to back up, maybe about 2 or 3 inches.
Too hard.
That's the danger of a draw shot and a control. The difference between a good
Ben's
draw shot
body.
and a bad is just 1 or 2 inches.
Ben's body English says it all. His shoulders slumped. He's breathing deep right now. Trying to play a safety behind the 8, but leaving distance between the balls.
Those that shoot this game frequently know that, generally speaking, you're better off when you can follow instead of draw. Much easier to control.
Fach wants to go 1 rail and bring it back for the 8, but he misses just long on that 7 ball.
Could be very costly on that shot to cost him this particular game, and can get that door open a little more for Ben, just like the match prior to. That's all it took, 1 miss.
Get off that rail. Perfect. Lead for that 9 ball.
And these last
Sweating
3
the
shots
match.
were almost identical to the game about 2 games ago. The way they were lined up and finished, it's all the same. There you go. Doors open for Ben. He's taking advantage.
Sweating the match to my right, Vilmos Foldish, who is about to play against Dan Wallace on the streaming table. That's the next match coming up. I'm going to take a very quick break, and I'll be right back on the mic.
That means you're going to be stuck with the coach for a while. Kind of grin and bear it out there. You got any questions? Ask away. What a beautiful shot. What a beautiful shot that was. Looks like now that Fach is in control. He's got his stroke working for him, and that's the key to this whole match here. He keeps going like this, he should be able to finish this game out with that great cue ball control. The only problem here when it makes a 6 is just to get some kind of shape on the 8. Does have a good angle. Makes the 8. He's definitely going to have a great shape on the 9. And look at that shot. What a shot. This would be the game ball coming up here. He wins this, makes this 9, it wins the game and the match. Yep, it looks like I got confused as normal. There is another game coming up here. I believe this is one 7-3 is an 8-7 race. That's what I can't see here.
All right, folks. Score is 7-3. Fach goes to 8 games.
That's what I don't see. Who just won the last round? Fach just won that one.
Okay, so Fach goes to 9 games.
He just won the game, making it 7. That's what I don't see is what the original race was.
The score is 7-3, and Fach goes to 8.
That's why I was asking her a while ago. I said, can she put that up here?
Okay.
The start was in, we know for sure.
Okay, both players go to 8. Okay. All right. Sorry. Could you?
White, I'm looking for you on table 7. Scott White, I'm looking for you. You are on.
That rack they're using, isn't that a new and improved magic rack? Or is that a different nature? You know.
I'm back
It
on
looks
the
like here
mic.
he's sitting to one ball and he's going to have a little bit of a difficulty on that. He elected to go for it and almost made a beautiful shot. You got to watch the scratch, and he did just that. Gives that
Right
ball in
in the
hand
drink.
to Ben. See if that's going to be a costly mistake.
There's only one guarantee in this game, and that is there are no guarantees in this game.
Welcome back, Ashi.
Thank you, sir.
What you saw there was a good representation of a draw shot control that he did to get down there on that 3.
Ben is looking to spin the ball, the cue ball, one rail to come above that 6 ball.
And he didn't want to make contact. That put him in a little bit of a tougher bind, but it's still a makeable shot.
flirting with that side pocket.
I think he's off the hook now. He's got a lot better open table left.
So a game that seemed to be in Fach's pocket is now about to become 7-4.
That's the way these matches go. You open that door just
There
a
it
crack,
is.
and all of a sudden it becomes a wide open barn door.
Everybody knows the commentator's jinx. We say that the match is done, and guess what? No, he swung a little bit wild. That's why I said the commentator's jinx. We say it's in the pocket, and guess what? That's when they miss.
Just like that one. When you think it's all over, there's a change.
Ben is looking to bank this. Yes, it seems the reverse bank safety sort of benefits him because splitting it may not be the best on this shot. There you go.
He executed a great safety. He's going to leave a
Beautiful
jump
safety.
shot, but that's a great safety.
Fach is going to his case, breaking down his cue. Looking to jump the 8 ball and make the 7 in the top right corner.
Very good attempt at that. Caught a little bad luck, though, coming down here and giving his opponent a great try at that 7. Here we go. He'll be shooting that 8 and probably is going to elect to shoot a stop shot or a very soft follow. There he goes, lining up that 9 ball straight in. Perfect control of that cue ball. And here we go.
I make it 7-5. Fach was simply unable to close this match. He's been on the hill from 7-2.
Hey everybody, this is Daniel again. I just want to remind you guys, Vilmos Foldis will be playing. Oh, Dan Wallace next. Also, there was a question about the turtle racks. They will be available in the United States, hopefully within a couple of weeks. Definitely available for pre-order within a couple of weeks, but we won't really know until the next event, which is going to be, I think, at Bull Shooters, if I'm not mistaken, but they're made in Japan, and they're going to be available for sale, 2 for $21 a piece, but no word yet on when they're actually going to be available for order. Another thing I want to let you guys know is that joining us tomorrow on the live stream, I will be joined with Dave Witzel of Dave Witzel Cues and Quality Billiards, which is on the same property. This shares the same parking lot here at On Cue Billiards. So we're really happy and honored to be working with David Witzel tomorrow. He will be here. You can check out some of Dave's work at westcoastcues.com. Check out westcoastcues.com and take a look at some of Dave Witzel's work. Really nice guy. And hopefully he'll have some fun stories to tell us tomorrow. So with that, I'm going to give you back.
Hey, Daniel. That turtle rack, is that by the same maker of the magic rack?
No, it's made in Japan. Japanese company. All is, I think. Yeah.
Let's see what the difference is between them and the magic rack. If there is any difference, is there a lot of difference in you? Does they show better or same like?
I like them better. I like the turtle rack a lot better.
One rack covers 8 and
One rack covers 9 and 10 ball.
they have one that's
Not 8 ball.
Okay, so that's where the magic rack is. That's what I use, magic rack, to go 8, 9, and 10.
All right, so Ashi Fachler has gone to take some photographs. He's a very talented photographer to the billiard industry, and we're very lucky to have him here. He's going to go off and take some pictures.
As I was saying a while ago, that when me and Ashi, I was complimenting him, he did the professional photos for my cards and my signature photos, etc. for myself, too tall. He does very, very good work.
And Ben is laughing at himself because that was sort of, what do they say? It's a donkey shot.
Yeah. It's what pressure does to you.
Yeah. Well, here comes Fach now. He's on the hill.
Ben's made a very good comeback, like the last match that we was watching earlier. It came from a 5-2 and came all the way back to the hill down to the 9-ball race, and this could very easily go to the same one. Ben gets this, he should be going to the hill, I believe. This may be all over but the shot in here on this shot.
I believe the score is still 7-3, correct? Or 7-4? Okay, we have 7-4. However, it looks like it might be over after this game.
As long as he handles this pressure, it's what we call almost an automatic shape shot. Beautiful. There's a concession. Ben conceded and gave him the game and the match because
There
he got
you go.
such great shots.
Personally, I like to make him shoot them all, but Ben trusts him. And you know what? Fach is strong enough. I trust him too, in a way. But not for the money, I don't trust him. So
I understand that. I currently agree because I've seen too many great shots missed.
So we're going to have Vilmos Foldis coming up next on this table versus Dan Wallace. And Dan he's feverishly warming up. I can see right here. He's warming up, getting ready for his match with Vilmos. And we're going to be streaming him live coming up next. So thanks for watching. Please share. Let everybody know that we're streaming all weekend, and catch the action on POVPOOL.com. Also, for real-time updates and scores and bracket updates, you can check my website, POVPOOL.com, and look for the first post. It's the On Cue real-time updates posts. Okay? Thanks a lot. We'll be back.